对，Hello，我看到又有新加入的这个参赛者，我们也是先在评论区里按照之前的格式进行一个打卡，这边再跟大家同步一下，可以按照这个格式来打卡。你是目前还没有找到团队个人参赛的，也可以在这个评论区里进行相对应的留言。OK，我看我们下午的时间也已经到了，那我们立刻开始今天的本次活动。Hello，各位参赛者和波卡生态爱好者们，大家下午好，欢迎来到本次黑客松的第三场直播间。那我是 Tim OneBlock 的社区经理。今天针对的话题呢，是我们黑客松四大赛题当中的第三个，也就是工具相关内容，如何构建 Web3世界的最佳工具。我们邀请到了两位项目方来跟大家具体的谈一谈。那我们也是简单介绍一下今天的一个活动流程。今天内容呢分为三部分，首先是来自 SubWallet 的主题分享，构建一个面向用户的 Polkadot 钱包。第二环节是来自 Subscan 的主题分享，面向 Substrate 链的数据索引与分析。如果你对这两家项目目前开发的不同工具有任何兴趣，欢迎直接在第三环节打开麦克风，再对我进行提问。Okay, so let's go started to briefly introduce the flow of today's event. Today's content is divided into three parts. The first one is the topic sharing from SubWallet, which is building a user-oriented Polkadot wallet. And the second session is from Subscan data indexing and analysis for the Substrate chain. If you have any interest in different tools currently being developed by the two projects, you can just feel free to ask questions directly in the third session. 以上呢就是全部的活动流程。那先让我们开始今天的第一环节，构建一个面向用户的 Polkadot 钱包。在本次黑松的参赛团队当中呢，我们已经看到了很多的一部分选择工具赛道的团队在火热的进行钱包开发的业务。那一个成熟的钱包工具该有哪些功能？我们该如何从代码层面上实现技术的创新，以及 SubWallet 对他们的钱包进行了怎样的改良？今天呢，我们邀请到了 SubWallet 的高级软件工程师南 Pham 为大家进行分享。在他进行分享之前呢，先让我对他进行一个自我介绍。作为 SubWallet 的早期核心贡献者之一，南 Pham 负责通过 DApp 以及网络整合，还有生态系统开发者关系来增强产品功能。他的兴趣在于探索创新的技术，比如说区块链学习和机器学习。那我们有请南 Pham。So let's get started with today's first session, building a user-oriented Polkadot wallet. Among the teams participating in this hackathon, we see that we have a large number of teams have chosen the tool track. And today we have invited Nampam, the senior software engineer at SubWallet, to share with us. And let me start with a brief personal introduction before the instructor share. As one of the early core contributors to SubWallet, NumPam is responsible for enhancing the product through the app and network integration and ecosystem developer relationships. His interest lies in exploring innovation and innovative technologies such as blockchain and also machine learning. So please welcome Nampan. You can start your sharing right now.
Okay, thank you, OneBlock, for the warm introduction, and I will start sharing my screen. Okay, just to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes.
And can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am very happy to be here today to share with you guys about our product SubWallet, and thank you again, OneBlock, for the introduction. My name is Nam, and just as mentioned, I am a senior software engineer at SubWallet. So I have been working on SubWallet from pretty much the start. And I have had great opportunities to work with different teams on the ecosystem to solve different problems, to integrate new features. And I hope that today I can share some of my insights and what I have learned during the past year to you guys. And so today's subject is building a user-oriented Polkadot wallet. And the content that we will cover can be divided into three parts. First, I will give an introduction about our products SubWallet. I'm sorry, can this? Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just go back a little bit. First, I will give you guys an introduction about SubWallet, who we are, how we started, and what is our mission as well as vision. Then I will quickly go over our architecture, which I think that you guys are much more interested in. I will give you guys an overall view of the architecture of SubWallet and some of the problems and challenges that we face during the building of SubWallet and how we approach and try to solve the problem. And lastly, I will share about the plan for the near future for SubWallet. So we have some very exciting new features coming up. We are planning it. We have had a great time so far this year, and we are planning to have another great year to come. Okay, so first let's start with the introduction. SubWallet is the pioneering user-friendly wallet for Substrate ecosystem. The reason that we start building is because we believed in the future of Web3. Our co-founder, Mr. Hill, around a year ago, he was moderating the Polkadot and Web3 Vietnam community with around 10,000 members, and he often received complaints about how difficult it was to use Polkadot.js wallet. And so he gathered up a team, and here we are. One point worth mentioning is that we started building SubWallet with the idea that a wallet is not only a product which helps users to manage their funds and interact with blockchains and can see their assets and manipulate them, but it's also the first touch point to any ecosystem. For the common users, it's very hard to try to enter into a blockchain ecosystem without a good user interface and a good user experience, because it can get way too technical. Therefore, we aspire to be a one-stop gateway for all the needs of our users by providing a top-notch user experience as well as being a feature-rich product. Next up, I would like to share with you some of the highlights of our product. First being project transparency. SubWallet is an open source GitHub project. So as you might know, transparency is a core value of Web3, and we will always cherish it here. And so we try to live up to that core value and completely being open and about everything that we do. We are completely open source. We welcome the contribution of the community. We have had great contribution from the community so far, actually, and we will always stay that way, staying open. We have also been audited by a third party, and that is to make sure that we are giving our users the best possible privacy and security. Also, I think the one thing that makes SubWallet a little bit different from other wallets is that we do not collect any data from our users. So that might be a disadvantage for us, but again, we try to prioritize the users' privacy and security. And yeah, that is our first point, which is project transparency. But also, we are available on multiple platforms. So currently we have a wallet on as an extension form as well as a mobile app. So you can find us on Google Chrome, on Firefox, on Edge browser, as well as on iOS and Android devices, which is very convenient for the users. And we find that this is crucial to bring a smooth and unified user interface, as well as a consistent feel and experience to our users across platforms. The mobile wallet has just been released a few months ago for open testing, and it has been a long-waiting feature, a long-waiting product for the community. And so far, we have received many positive feedbacks, and we expect to improve upon that. In SubWallet, we offer all-in-one asset management solution. So it's very easy to send and receive assets, whether it's token or your NFT, with only a few steps. Also, I'd like to mention that SubWallet is also the first wallet to support XAM transfers. So as you might know, XAM is something kind of unique to Polkadot, and we're very excited to bring all those special features and special product of the ecosystem to our users to make it as easy to use as possible. Staking is also made easy with a unified user interface and process, because the staking mechanism can get quite complex, and each network would have a mechanism of its own. So we try to minimize the difficulties for our users to avoid much of the confusion. Also, SubWallet is EVM compatible, which really makes SubWallet transcends the Polkadot.js capability. It allows users to interact with EVM networks such as Moonbeam, Astar, and as well as pure EVM network such as Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain. So our users can interact with both Substrate ecosystem and traditional EVM ecosystem with just one wallet, which is very convenient, in my opinion. We also value users' control over the wallet. So here we have we allow users to customize networks and their tokens, so they can add tokens such as ERC20 token, ERC721 token, as well as adjusting the providers for the networks. They can add their own if they want. We do not control any of that. I find that this also allows teams and developers to quickly test and develop their product with a friendly UI, so they can test things out without too much of the technical detail. With all the SubWallet is not just a feature-rich product, but essentially SubWallet is still a wallet, and a wallet has to be security oriented. It has to possess top-notch security, and the way we try to improve that here at SubWallet is we try to bring in all these other tools. And here we have hard wallet compatibility. Hardware wallets can also work with SubWallet. We support Ledger and Keystone so far. This adds an extra layer of security to the wallet. So our users can store their private keys and the seed phrase in the hardware wallet while still utilizing the interface and as well as the functionality of SubWallet. One more point to show is that we also have integration with QR signer using Parity Signer and Stylo. Again, this is a special feature that so far only SubWallet has, and this really takes SubWallet to a new level of privacy as well as user experience, because this adds an extra layer of security, as it allows your mobile device to act as a cold wallet. Of course, if you use it without an internet connection, but also, so for example, the wallet, let's just say the SubWallet extension can parse a transaction into a QR code, and then your mobile wallet, which contains the private key, can scan that QR code and submit the transaction. So actually, you don't need to store the private key on any other platform beside your mobile phone. And also, we also implement this interesting feature, which is allowing users to import their accounts from the browser extension to mobile devices. So how that works is the SubWallet extension. You can export your account as a QR code, and then you install your SubWallet on your mobile device, and then you scan that QR code, and then just the mobile wallet can import that account without you having to type anything in. So I think, first of all, that's very convenient for our users, because a lot of time transferring from a desktop device to a mobile device, you would be required to type in your seed phrase and maybe exporting your private key and then storing it somewhere, which is risky and a lot of typing. So that takes a lot of steps, as well as a lot of steps which can break the security of the account. And yeah, okay. Next up, I would like to share with you guys some of our achievements, our numbers and traction so far. So we had a little bit over a year of development, and SubWallet extension has over 31,000 installs, 24,000 weekly active users. It comes second only to Polkadot.js as of December 2nd, 2022. We work closely with almost all parachains and dApps in the ecosystem, and we are constantly improving our product and adding new features to provide the best user interface as well as user experience to the community. I would like to highlight that we have also released Polkadot Deep Dive Report, as well as an ecosystem map and a .inside project. You might have heard about it, to really bring in information and understanding of the whole ecosystem. So on the product side, we introduce great features and great UI UX to our users, but also in terms of information, we are trying to be the hub of information for our users as well, because this Polkadot ecosystem can be very large and it can be overwhelming. And so this truly makes SubWallet live up to the vision of being a Web3 multiverse gateway. Also, we are a part of Substrate Builders program, as well as funded twice by Polkadot Treasury. As you can see, SubWallet has completed 2 milestones of Substrate Builders program so far, and we've had a great time and great support from Parity, and we're looking forward to more milestones to come. And that is all for the introduction of SubWallet. And now I think I would go into the more exciting part, which I think you guys would enjoy more, which is the building process of SubWallet as well as its architecture. And so SubWallet is an open source project, as I mentioned, and it is forked from Polkadot.js extension originally. And therefore, it inherits all the core features from Polkadot.js extension. Some of the features, as you can see here, Polkadot.js extension offers account management, which means that users can import and export their accounts, their Substrate accounts. The Polkadot extension can also manage website access to the extension. It allows DApp interaction, signing transaction and data, updating metadata, and some package for anti-phishing feature. And finally, it allows basic hardware wallet interaction. And I think that the issue with Polkadot.js extension, and actually Polkadot.js is Polkadot provides us with Polkadot.js extension and as well as Polkadot.js web wallet. And I think the issue with that is Polkadot.js extension has very little, only has basic features, and it's very poor in terms of information functionality. So you cannot stake directly from Polkadot.js extension. And to have complete access to the Substrate ecosystem, then users would be required to use the Polkadot.js web wallet, which is way too technical for the common users. I'm sure that everyone here is familiar with the Polkadot.js web wallet, and I think we can all agree that at some point we all get lost, especially when we first started out. And therefore, SubWallet expand Polkadot.js capabilities. And by nature, Polkadot is a multi-chain ecosystem. Therefore, a wallet needs to be able to interact and support different chains or network out of the box. And on top of that, the ecosystem is still in its early stage of development. So a lot of changes and updates are expected. And therefore, the approach, the philosophy that our team has been using is rapid development. So we are not trying to predict and come up with something that is too strict and try to anticipate the updates. We take a more reactive approach. So we let the ecosystem grow. We let the ecosystem change and update as expected, because essentially the Substrate ecosystem is designed, Substrate itself is designed for customization. And so we figure out that we cannot just put constraints on the wallet, because that would make the wallet too strict, and it cannot be compatible with a lot of network. So we try to be compatible with as many networks as we can. Okay. Therefore, with these considerations in mind, the user interface and user experience should be thoroughly studied and designed so as to not confuse users and provide a seamless multi-chain experience. And the architecture of the wallet should be flexible and modular enough to be able to quickly adapt to changes. And on the slides, you can see that here are some of the goals that we have been aiming for so far. So we aim to support multiple platforms, which is mobile and as well as desktop devices. We aim to provide much better user interface along with richer information with more meaningful information, as well as more in-app functionalities. We also implement multiple ways for users to take control and enhance their security over their accounts. Okay, so that is for the philosophy that we have been using. And so far it has been working, well, I would say wonderfully. And let's see how in detail, how that approach, the rapid development approach, the reactive to changes approach work. And here I have a graph that represents the overall architecture of the wallet. And let's just quickly go over the components that I have here. So in the middle, as you can see, with my cursor, this is what we call the app runner, which is the core of the wallet. It contains services that handle business logic. So as you can see here, I have some few services that you can see, some staking, crowd, and NFTs and balances and network. So each of these services would encapsulate and handle its logic internally, and it would completely encompass the boundary of its feature. So NFT service would handle all of the logic that is related to NFT. But also we would have the app runner to interact with the blockchain endpoint providers, and in turns interact with the blockchain itself. We also have third-party APIs here. So we have like maybe CoinGecko API, some data indexer, and some external APIs. This is to ensure that we provide as much information as possible to our users. And to the right, you can see that these are some external agents. So we have like the apps can interact with the app runners through our wallet provider. We can also interact with a hardware wallet with some middleware, as well as QR signer interactions. And on top here, we have users which interact with the core of the SubWallet through a user interface, of course. So that is the overall architecture of the wallet, which essentially the most important part is right here, the app runner, which contains all the business logic. And so now I would like to go into a bit more detail about each service that we have here. Of course, SubWallet inherits all Polkadot.js extension features. And I would like you to pay attention to the network manager here, because the network manager is a core service. It is used by every other services, because the network manager manages the connection to the blockchain itself through the use of API promise, which I'm sure many of you have used. So Network Manager service manages the state of the networks on the wallet. It would check periodically if the connection status is on or off. It provides network connection for other services to use. And some challenges we have faced is that connection to the blockchain itself can be very unstable, especially when you are connecting to many networks concurrently, and it can cause a major drop in performance and consume a lot of resources, which is the reason why we have the customizing network feature. So we allow users to only interact with the networks that the users have access on. So the network manager is the centerpiece of the services because, like I said, first of all, it provides the connection to other services to use. So without network manager connecting to, let's say, Polkadot, then the balance service cannot retrieve the balance from the balance of an account from Polkadot. But also it manages the state of the connection. So whenever the connection is down, then it would handle reconnection. It would handle the reconnection. Yeah. Okay, so next up, I would like to mention, so as you can see here, these are some core services as well. So this is more like the business logic of the wallet. And the way that they work is that the challenges that we face during integrating so many networks is that each network would have a logic of itself. Each chain or network would implement different palettes, as you may know, and has their own mechanism. For example, especially staking, because the tokenomics can be completely different between chains, and that is expected. And so therefore, many times that I have done is that a lot of chains have the same type of information. For example, maybe the expected staking APR, but the way that you can gather up that information is different from chain to chain. So it's very hard for users to actually use Polkadot.js extension or web wallet to actually find that piece of information. And therefore, that is one of the challenge, is that each network would implement different palettes, which means that a function, right, let's just say we're trying to send an amount of token would work differently on each network, but from the user's perspective, it shouldn't look any different. From the UI perspective, it shouldn't look any different. And so that's why we under this, for example, balance service, we try to categorize each chain according to their own palettes. So maybe different chains that use the same palette would go into one categories, and we would interact with them in a certain way, and the same goes with another category. And one more reason why we do it like this is because we want to use a common interface for different chains in order to make sure that the consistency of information is coherent. And so some chains may not have certain parameters and may not have a certain, as you know, certain parameters and certain information, or maybe that information is in different format. And so the reason why we try to encapsulate all the logic of a certain feature into one service is because we want to make sure that everything is in one place, and from the UI's perspective, it is consistent. Okay, so I think that to best demonstrate, if any of you have ever tried to make an XAM transfer with Polkadot JS wallet, then you would find that there are a lot of parameters to put in, and you actually have to find those parameters to put in, as well as finding which function to call, which palette to use. And an XAM transfer from, let's say, Polkadot to Moonbeam is different from Oscar to Moonbeam. And so from the user's perspective, it should not have any difference, but well, the technical detail underneath is overwhelming for the common users. So that is why we came up with this design. Okay, so that is the core business logic services, but also we would interact with third-party APIs, as you can see here. The reason for this is to enrich the information. For example, we get the price token from CoinGecko APIs, and so users can see how many tokens do they have on which networks, and how pricey it is, And another reason is that it's not always easy to retrieve data from blockchain itself, because a lot of time the blockchain architecture is great for it's not great for storing information, and it's not great for retrieving information. And so for example, the staking reward is just a small piece of information. For example, you may want to know how much reward you have received throughout since the start of your staking process, but it can be very hard to retrieve that, because you would have to scan each block and to check if you get any reward, and then you have to add them all up. And so that's why we use some of the data indexer to get those types of information, because it can get very hard to retrieve data from blockchain. And so here's another challenge that we face is that since we have many sources of information, right, from third party as well as from the blockchain itself, so there are a lot of information to, first of all, to present to our users, but also to manage within the application itself. And so the challenge here is about state management. We make sure that the data is always up to date, but also it has some extra information such as, staking reward and price data. And so we implement different way to store information. First of all, in case that the network is down or the services is down and we cannot retrieve the information. Second of all, before presenting our data to the meaningful data to our users up top, we do a lot of data aggregation. Down here, we manage the states separately. For example, maybe the staking balance of an account is retrieved from the blockchain itself, but the staking reward is retrieved through a data indexer. And so we have to manage those states differently, and we aggregate them and present them to the users. And so, okay. I would like to say a little bit about the dApps. The dApps would interact with SubWallet through injected providers, or we provide in-app browsers in our mobile wallet as well. Hardware wallet can also interact with through some middleware that Polkadot JS extension provide. And lastly, the QR signer. The QR signer is basically it just provides a data parsing mechanism. So every time you have an extrinsic, maybe like sending your balance or sending your NFTs or bonding extrinsic, then the QR signer service would parse that into a QR code, parse the extrinsic into a QR code, and present it for ready to be scanned. Okay, so that is the overall architecture. And now I would like to go over how the SubWallet extension in mobile app is implemented. And as you can see here, this is the app runner that I have just talked about. And the way that extension and the mobile app interact with the app runner is through each of their own message passing mechanism. So on extension is Chrome message passing, and the same for the mobile app. The UI for the extension is built with React, and the mobile app with React Native, and the UI is of course separate, and it interacts with the app runner through message passing. The dApp can interact with the dApp can interact with the app runner through injection and providers on the extension on desktop devices, and the mobile dApp through in-app browsers. So we provide a basic browser with basic functions and inherently the in-app browser would have SubWallet providers already injected in them, and so the mobile dApp can interact with it. Also, we have some browser APIs, as well as the storage on the browser. It would use a different storage mechanism from the mobile, and so these helping APIs would interact with the app runner itself. Okay, and that is the overall of our architecture, and I hope that I'm not going too fast, too slowly. And for the final piece of my presentation, I would like to introduce some of the upcoming features from us. And so we have 3 upcoming features, which is very exciting for us, which is a master password, multiple master accounts, and we are implementing an asset management service. So currently, we are inheriting the password mechanism from Polkadot JS. So every time you create an account, then it would require you to put a password, and therefore different accounts can have different passwords. But we see that this mechanism would require users to input their passwords a lot of times, and so we try to save users from all those typing. and we would just implement one password. Only one password is required for wallet interaction and account management, just as MetaMask, as you're already familiar with. But also we would allow the multiple master accounts. So what a master account is that you can understand the master account as your seed phrase or your mnemonic phrase. So that is either 12 words or 24 words. And from that same seed phrase, you can derive into different accounts, and you can hash the seed phrase into in different ways to produce different accounts, so maybe an EVM or Substrate account, and therefore we call it a master account. So the master account is just a seed phrase. And so in our wallet, we support numerous seed phrases and derivation paths. So as you might know, on MetaMask, there can only be, in this definition, there can only be one master account. And we see that for the really hardcore users, they would have a lot of accounts for different purposes, and therefore we implement this to support them with that. Okay, the last thing is the asset management service, which is, as I mentioned previously, Polkadot is a multi-chain ecosystem. Therefore, there are a lot of networks and a lot of projects built on those networks, and each project and each network might have a lot of assets being minted on them. And therefore, the relationships between assets, the way that they can be swapped and transferred from one chain to another, can get very confusing. And it's very hard to track, especially with XAM transfer available right now. And so you might have DOT token on Polkadot, on Moonbeam, on Asta, on Akala, and so we try to manage all of those relationships and all of those assets throughout the ecosystem, so that our users can quickly identify and track the assets as convenient as possible. And I think that is all for me today. Thank you for listening. I'm very happy to be here to share with you guys. If you have any question, please leave it in the chat. And I'm sure that everyone would have a great hackathon. I'm sure that everyone has a great idea and a great project to share with us. Thank you. And that's all from me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. 感谢 NamPam 的分享。如果大家对他的分享有任何的疑问，非常支持大家中英双语进行一个提问哈。当然也可以多多关注他们目前正在进行的一个钱包项目，包括其他内容呢，我们的推特也进行了宣传。希望 NamPam 老师今天的分享内容在你们的钱包开发当中能起到启发和一个学习的作用。Thank you for NamPam for sharing. And if you still have any questions about the contents of the code he shared, bilingual questions are very welcome to be supported, to be asked. And of course, you can also pay attention to their current wallet project, including other content we've tweeted about it. Okay, and finally, thank you for sharing today, and your session has already finished. 那接下来呢，我们将会开始第二环节的讨论。在我们工具的这个大赛道当中呢，不仅仅有钱包这么一个类别，包括像数据索引的工具在内的一系列其他项目，在 Substrate 生态当中都起到了一个至关重要的作用。大家也可以参考一下 其他种类的工具目前与钱包工具在生态当中的一个异同。那针对上述的这一部分内容呢，我们也是邀请到了 Subscan 的负责人 Yakio 老师来为大家进行一场对于 Substrate 链的数据索引与分析内容的分享。那 Yakio 老师是 Substrate 生态的早期开发者和贡献者，以及区块链基础设施的领域产品专家。那我们欢迎 Yakio 老师进行分享。
OK， 我来分享一下屏幕。稍等。OK， 大家好，我是 Subscan 的负责人 Yakio， 然后今天很高兴和大家来做这场分享。先来介绍一下这个 Subscan。Subscan 呢是聚合 Substrate 生态网络的这个区块链浏览器。区块链浏览器呢，其实区别于我们通常意义讲的浏览器，它主要用于查询一些链上数据比如说区块信息、交易信息转账信息、账户余额这些。但是呢，我们的目标其实不止于此，我们是希望通过区块链浏览器这个基础设施也算是一个流量入口，然后来拓展更多的这个数据服务以及周边服务最终呢是致力于成为 Substrate 生态的这个 Web3 门户。可以对比一下传统的这个 2.0 的这个顶级的门户网站比如说像 Google雅虎这些主要是提供日常生活为主的这个导航搜索服务。这些较大的这个综合门户网站呢，还提供了一些辅助的服务，比如说这个什么用户注册系统电子邮件、电子商务、在线社区、游戏这类的。打造一个 Web3 的门户呢，除了说区块链浏览器的基础功能，在这个数据解析方面我们目前呢是已经为staking然后像平行链拍卖链上治理这些模块定制了可视化程度高，然后用户友好的界面。另外呢，我们也在不断的聚合更多的这个外部的应用比如治理平台我们已经整合了这个 Polkadot 那边的治理相关的数据，然后还有跨链身份，然后还有 SubID 这边，然后可以为用户提供一个生态一站式的这个应用入口。Subscan 呢也提供了丰富的工具，然后大家比较熟悉的可能比如说有多签，还有这个 PLO 也就是平行链拍卖，然后 staking 相关的这个 dashboard， 还有这个价格转化工具，它是针对一些网络的，比如说某一个区块或者某一天的这个历史价格来进行一个转换。还有这个那个账户的格式转化工具这个也是针对 Substrate 这边 SS58 这个特殊的这个账户格式吧，这边的一个小工具还有就是数据的 API 服务特别是有一个这个开源的索引服务叫 Subscan Essential， 它也是 Subscan 浏览器最核心的一个索引的应用吧。然后这部分之前我们也参与了这个 Web3 的 Grant， 然后这部分内容呢也是开源的。今天呢主要也是想和大家来着重分享一下这边然后下面呢会来演示一下它如何使用，然后它的用法就还是很简单的，然后可以用5分钟的时间快速启动一个浏览器。稍等，我来做这个一些启动的准备。 OK，然后为了达到，就是为了保证这个分享的效果呢，之前是有把相关的内容给录成了一个这个小视频，大家可以看到这边是5分13秒这个还包括中间预留的一些介绍的时间，所以说也是希望就是可以通过分享这样的一个工具吧。然后给各位参赛者带来一些灵感，然后或者说对大家能有一点帮助。OK， 首先呢，我们打开这个 GitHub，是这个项目叫 Subscan Essential， 然后找到这个库，然后在这边把它拉到本地。然后再打开终端，将刚刚复制的那个链接贴到终端里面。这边可能会出现一个问题，就是如果本地之前已经有这套代码，它可能会有一个报错不过没关系，我们把它删掉就好了。然后等待它克隆。OK， 然后现在目前是克隆下来，然后到这个文件夹里，然后我们也可以看到这个里面的这些文件。现在我们来新建一个窗口，然后先把这个 API 来跑起来。这边需要注意一下，这边有一个上面可以看到有一个默认的这个配置文件如果它显示不存在的话呢，我们需要来操作生成一下这个配置文件。OK， 现在 API 已经启动了，可以看到这边有很多 API 的这个路径。然后还是跳转到这个文件夹，跳转到这个目录下，然后启动索引程序。这里也需要注意一下，就是如果说 VPN 没设置好的话，也会有超时的错误，然后不过不影响。OK， 可以看到索引已经跑起来了。然后我们来看一下这个数据库的内容吧。OK， 这边就可以看到左边这个列表，然后里面有这个blocks， 然后 events、instances， 还有 logs， 还有这个 runtime 版本相关的这个内容，我们来逐一看一下。OK， 这个是这个 blocks 的这个数据结构，可以看到这个block number， 然后时间戳哈希，然后 parent 哈希，还有logs， 然后以及它下面挂的 instances 这些 数据。它目前呢还是以一个比较原始的这个数据状态展示出来的。然后各位也可以就是发挥自己的想象力，或者是根据自己的业务要求来对这些已经索引到的基础数据呢再做进一步的整理和分析。然后从而以一个比如说更加可视化、更加容易读懂的这个方式呈现给用户会更加的好。这个就是这个 logs 相关的。OK， 然后我们看目前的话，数据库也有一些数据，我们来给它增加一个简单的 UI。这个也是 Substrate Essential 的这个工具里面自带的一个很简易的 UI， 但是可以满足一些这个索引需要。这边也可能出现一个错误就是没有自动跳转到 UI 这个文件夹。这边我们 install 这个前端这个依赖库，然后安装一下。OK， 然后我们看到也已经这边数据索引的话已经有不少的数据了，然后足够我们这边来测试。我们可以就先把索引程序给它关掉。OK， 然后我们来跳转这个 UI 的这个页面，一起来看一下。OK， 可以看到链接，我们来看一下。这是一个非常简易的 UI， 然后可以用于做这个一些简单的索引就比如说索引刚刚我们看到的这个数据库这边目前支持的是通过这个 block， 然后 extrinsic 还有 runtime。我们先试一个 block。OK， 然后这边输入的是看一下第一个块吧，然后这边有简单看一下有 code。然后 message 它这个是这个出块成功，然后它的一些 data 吧，然后 block number， 然后时间戳哈希我们刚才也在数据库里看到了，然后后面还有一些比如说它下面的 extrinsic 的一些信息这类的东西。然后这个Subscan 用的就是 Subscan 的商业版本的浏览器，目前用的是这套东西。然后可以看到，就是对这个数据进行一个再处理、再包装的话，其实还是有很大的空间的。看个 extrinsic， 这是大致的这个结构。然后 runtime， 我们以最早的这个0这个版本来看吧，然后点开能看到一些详情。这也是这个 Substrate 这边最早的一个runtime 的版本。OK， 我们返回到这个 GitHub 这边，因为呢Subscan Subscan Essential 这边呢还给大家提供了一个怎么说呢，一个自定义的模块吧，相当于是自定义模块、自定义插件这类的东西。 这边。然后这边我们是以 balance 为例子，然后做了一套。大家其实可以就是使用这个参考一下吧，使用这个框架，然后根据自身的这个业务需求来开发自定义的这个数据逻辑。然后看一下这个以 balance 为例的这个参考。还有一些相关的文档类的内容都非常详细的列在这个下面的这个 README 里面了，然后欢迎大家来使用吧。然后如果遇到任何问题的话，欢迎和我们反馈，可以直接在这个库的那个下面提 issue， 然后每一个 issue 我们都会有这个专门的开发人员来处理还有一些更多的文档，大家都可以来看一下。OK， 这个就是今天我这边想分享的这个主要的内容。然后这边和刚才讲的一样，是这个在这个 GitHub 上面提 issue 的这个通道，然后也可以给我们发邮件，就是 hello@subscan.io。我这边的今天的分享就是这样。然后大家如果有什么问题的话，欢迎提问。
好的，感谢老师精心准备的内容。好的，那大家有任何想要提问的呢，都可以在 Q&A 当中打开麦克风来发言。然后我们的前两环节呢，也是已经结束了。好，那我们已经看到了之前有一个这个打在屏幕里的问题，是想问一下这个南盼老师的。那么我们也是在这个环节当中有请这个南盼老师进行一个回答。Hi, Nampan. We have a community question want to ask about what's your opinion towards MPC wallets?
Okay. First of all, thank you for the question. And as I understand, the MPC wallet aims to provide similar experience to centralized exchange, as well as have superior security to the traditional non-custodial wallet as we have it right now. But I think that in terms of the technicality and the technology and the security, it would be a step moving forward. But in terms of actual implementation, in reality, I think it would take some time to get there. I'm not even sure that I don't think that there's any wallet right now that is widely used and implementing this mechanism. But I think that in the future, definitely wallet has to step up in terms of user experience as well as security. And this seems like a promising way to do that. But also we would have to wait to see. And also, I think that, as I mentioned in my presentation, is that the wallet is, in my opinion, is more heavily kind of like user oriented, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is not just the technicality, but the wallet must implement the blockchain security and functionalities in a way that the users do not find it to be too overwhelming. And so users right now are accustomed with MetaMask user experience, especially, and so to implement an MPC wallet, then I guess we all will have to wait. But I think that is an interesting approach, and that's my opinion, and I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you. Pham 老师刚才想表达是，可能我们现阶段没有实施这么一个MPC 钱包这个产品，但是在未来呢，我们的这个就是钱包的安全以及这个用户体验等等的这些东西会进一步的提升与挂钩，这个未来才是有很大潜力去落地的，因为钱包更多相关的是 user-oriented 用户导向的一个内容。好的，这是Pham老师的回答。然后有其他想问老师的，可以打开麦克风，你可以说中文，我可以帮你翻译。然后当然也有对那个 Substrate 感兴趣的，也可以打开麦克风直接进行提问。我看大家在那个微信社群里交流，都是对这个钱包其实还挺感兴趣的。其实有想知道更多的呢，也可以，怎么说呢，跟我们老师可以在现场探讨一下。那如果没有的话，其实也没关系啊。我们后续呢也可以再进行，无论是刚才Yakio老师展示的那个二维码，还是说我们的 SubWallet，都可以跟他们在社交媒体上进行一个互动。那么我在这边在最后提醒一下大家，就是记得按照这个聊天区内的格式来进行打卡。我们这是第3次 workshop，及其4次的打卡呢，会有这个瓜分奖金的机会。然后还要进入这个决赛。对，如果说没有打卡的各位，可以记得去打一下卡。那么也是非常感谢各位观众朋友今天的参与以及提问。那对，今天也是要再跟大家再提醒一遍，因为我们目前还是有人没有提交报名表和创建 GitHub 仓库，那可以扫描这个二维码以及添加 Emma 微信，去进行一个报名或者说是 GitHub 仓库的提交。对，另外如果有团队或者个人有组队需求呢，也是可以直接私信我们，我们会立刻帮你去进行一个解决。我们后续呢还会开展最后一场的 workshop 以及 office hour，那请注意一下大家的这个微信群消息。这里也是跟大家在最后预告一下，这个最后一场 workshop 的时间是下周六12月17号的下午3点进行第4场 workshop。那么我们的主题呢是一个VC 相关的内容，就是寒冬之下 Web3 创业者的机遇在哪里？如果你对 VC 项目融资如何获得资方的一个青睐，或者说如何做好一个创业公司等等的相关话题比较感兴趣，请关注我们的最后一场 workshop， 届时呢也会在微信群发布参与活动二维码通知大家。那我们下期再见。Thank you so much for today's sharing, and our QA session has ended. Yeah, thank you.